What if I told you that Ferrari has just found a loophole in the FIA regulations and is about to exploit it like nothing seen before in recent F1 history? Ferrari did not make a decision. Ferrari chose a complete break. In the paddock, there was talk of a worn-out team with directionless technical management and an operational structure that had been repeating the same mistakes for years. The SF25, presented with great expectations for the 2025 season, became the clearest reflection of that decline. An unstable car in fast corners, unable to manage the tires without a clear operating window. In the tests, his problems were evident, but the most alarming thing was that in the first races those problems worsened. The team no longer knew whether to continue developing the car or simply contain the damage. It was then, just in April 2025, when Maranello did something that very few teams dare to do in the middle of a season. It stopped the development of the SF25 completely. It was not a desperate decision. It was a surgical execution of pure strategy. Frédéric Vasseur, team boss, together with the recently incorporated Loic Serra from Mercedes, understood that continuing to invest in a failed concept would only prolong the suffering. So they launched a covert operation that was known internally as Project 678. This project not only involved a technical change, it was a complete cleaning. From the suspension architecture, to the way the mass distribution was designed, through each element of simulation and modeling software. Ferrari was building a car from scratch. But the most interesting thing is that he did it with the intention of playing within the grayest margins of the rules, not to cheat, but to interpret it with a depth that no one else was exploring. The technical team completely reconfigured the philosophy of the car. They abandoned the pull rod suspension that they had used in recent years and that failed to extract maximum performance with the current Pirelli compounds. They decided to return to a pushrod system, but with a variant. One designed from the beginning to interact with advanced materials that could modify their behavior under load. This was not an evolution of the previous car. It was a root cut. Ferrari knew that it would lose the entire 2025 season, that its drivers would not fight for victories, and that the criticism would be fierce. But they chose the long term. They chose to prepare a technical bomb for 2026. Every department of the team was realigned. Aerodynamics were no longer the focus. The priority became mechanical consistency, efficiency in load transfer and adaptation to the new FIA technical regulations that, although more restrictive in many areas, opened small doors for those who knew how to look. At that time, Ferrari was not building a car. He was constructing a technical declaration of war. And while the rest of the grid played their cards in the present, in Maranello the first chapter of a revolution was already being written that would forever change the way in which a legal, but to the limit, single-seater is conceived. There are innovations in Formula One that go unnoticed because they are small improvements. Then there are those that divide eras. Ferrari has developed one of the latter. What is hidden at the heart of the SF26 is not just another piece. It is a conceptual challenge to all FIA regulations. And the most impressive thing is that it has been approved without hesitation. The key is anisotropic carbon fiber. This material is not new to motorsports, but its application here is so specific, so surgical, that it completely changes the nature of the suspension. Unlike traditional components, which are isotropic, meaning they offer the same rigidity no matter where force is applied to them, the SF26 suspension arms are designed with a completely different logic. The fiber is oriented strategically, layer by layer, to respond selectively. During FIA homologation testing, these parts behave as expected. They are rigid, strong, resistant. But on the track, when subjected to real lateral forces, torque and vibrations that are not replicated on a static test bench, they transform. That rigidity becomes controlled flexibility. And that's right where the magic is. The suspension of the SF26 acts as if it were active, but without the need for electronics, without illegal hydraulic systems, without breaking the regulations. Simply, the geometry of the material reacts in a programmed way. This allows the car to modify the camber angle of the wheels dynamically while cornering, optimizing contact with the asphalt and improving traction, stability, and above all, the useful life of the tire. And all without being able to be detected from outside. Hence there is already talk among rival engineers of the phantom suspension. To understand the real impact of this solution, you have to remember Ferrari's Achilles heel for years, the inability to keep tires within their ideal operating window. While McLaren or Mercedes could do long runs without loss of performance, Ferrari suffered excessive degradation, overheating, and loss of traction. This suspension eliminates the root problem. By dynamically adjusting the geometry of the front and rear axle, the SF26 manages to maintain a stable platform, which translates into less wear, greater predictability in the car's balance, and the possibility of using more aggressive compounds without fear of them collapsing prematurely. Furthermore, this flexibility not only affects cornering performance, it also affects aerodynamics. When the car sinks under load, for example during high-speed braking or cornering, the suspension allows certain parts of the car to adopt a more aerodynamic posture without modifying the legal structures of the wing or the floor. That is, Ferrari is obtaining a collateral aerodynamic benefit, without touching a single prohibited part. This, of course, opens up a new battlefield. Because although the FIA has given the green light to this interpretation, the debate is already heating up among the rivals. Some argue that it is a violation of the spirit of the regulation. But Ferrari has a clear answer. They are not breaking any rules. They are respecting every period, every comma, but taking it to the extreme. Leclerc has designed a work of engineering that could mark a before and after in how teams interpret suspension design. And if this concept works as well as it promises in simulations and internal tests, we could be facing the birth of a new technical standard for the entire category. What Ferrari has done with the SF26 is not simply design a competitive car. It is a direct statement to the entire grid. In Maranello they have stopped playing catch-up. Now they are willing to be the ones who dictate the pace, the unwritten rules and the boldest interpretations of the FIA technical regulations. And that has inevitable consequences. To begin with, the attention of rival teams is already completely focused on this innovation. Although it has not yet officially debuted on the track, what has been leaked from the SF26 and its revolutionary suspension has generated an immediate effect. Engineers from teams such as Mercedes and Red Bull have already begun to study homologations and behavioral patterns that may indicate how to replicate or denounce this system. In the halls of the FIA, the debate is not technical, it's political. Because although Ferrari's system is completely legal under the current homologation tests, the truth is that it reveals a structural flaw in the regulations. The tests are static, but the forces that a car suffers in the race are dynamic, complex, multidirectional. The FIA knows that these types of interpretations, although legitimate, can open the door to a wave of similar solutions that blur the current limits of technical legality. And that creates a dilemma. If Ferrari starts 2026 with a clear advantage not only in pace, but in tire management and long-run performance, other teams are likely to resort to formal protests. But the problem is that there will be nothing to protest. Everything has been validated. What they could do is press to modify the rigidity tests and tighten the homologation conditions for 2027, as has already happened in the past with flexible spoilers or blown diffusers. It is the natural cycle in F1. Innovation generates a reaction. But in the meantime, Ferrari will have unique room for maneuver. An entire year or at least several races in which you can take advantage of this advantage without anyone being able to stop you. It's a scenario reminiscent of the beginnings of Mercedes' hybrid era, when the technical advantage was so great that the rest of the field simply couldn't compete. Furthermore, this technical revolution comes at a key moment. Formula One is heading into a new regulatory era in 2026, with major changes to car design, power units, and the balance between efficiency and spectacle. What Ferrari is doing with the SF26 could not only anticipate that new cycle, but shape it. If their concept proves successful, it will be the reference upon which all other teams will have to redesign their future platforms. The other great consequence is internal. Ferrari, traditionally a team with internal political tensions and slow decisions, is demonstrating a technical cohesion not seen since its glory years. The arrival of Leclerc not only brought technical knowledge, but also a new culture of calculated risk. And that completely changes the mental state of the team. They are no longer playing not to make mistakes. They are playing to win. Project 678 is a total gamble. If it works, it will be remembered as the move that returned Ferrari to the F1 throne. If it fails, like a daring attempt that found no echo on the track. But what cannot be denied is that, for the first time in many years, Ferrari has once again been the team that everyone watches with respect and concern. And in Formula One, that is already a strategic victory. Ferrari has not released a simple technical update. He has activated a time bomb that threatens to reconfigure the entire hierarchy of Formula One. And he has done so with precision, with patience, and with the conviction that it is no longer enough to compete. We must anticipate, we must redefine. In a sport where the rules are made to limit and the regulations become a cage for creativity, Ferrari has found a secret way out. He hasn't forced her. He hasn't broken it. He has read it better than anyone. And that, at this moment in history, is more valuable than having the fastest car or the most consistent driver. Now the question is not whether the SF26 will be competitive. The real question is whether anyone will be able to stop what already seems inevitable. A year of technical dominance disguised as absolute legality. And it will not be because the rivals are not capable, but because Ferrari has already taken a conceptual advantage that is not measured in tenths per lap, but in months of development and intellectual courage. This is not just another car. It is a materialized idea. Its engineering turned into a weapon. And the most disturbing thing of all is that we have not yet seen him run. Leave your opinion in the comments what you think about all this.